Welcome to the Infernal Brotherhood of the Scruffy-Looking Nerf Herders. This is a live YouTube vidcast made by Star Wars fans for Star Wars fans. And today we're looking back at Season 1 of The Mandalorian with a special retrospective episode.
Yeah, I can't believe we didn't do this when it finished.
But
we were
not sure why. Well, shit, we didn't even finish the fucking season, and I know why.
That's true.
That goddamn movie.
But now we're here, and really, after having such a fantastic Season 2, I thought it would be interesting to look back at Season 1 and see what our expectations were, how we sort of experienced it completely, and then, what our thoughts are of overall themes and characters and story and stuff like that. It is very early in the morning. Very early for us.
Yeah.
So if our eyes aren't quite wide, that's why.
Hey, I'm working on my second cup of coffee, so we'll be good.
I'm still trying to go in my... I love that mug.
Me too. I want to be buried with it.
Check out the...
Ooh.
Not my nipples, the shirt.
Oh, I thought we were looking at your nipples.
Nope, sorry.
Whatever.
Sorry. It's one of the shirts that you can find in our Teespring store. The link is in the description of the video. Yeah. All right, so for those of you joining live, I hope you guys like The Mandalorian, because that's what we're talking about.
If you don't, please go fuck off. There is something severely wrong with you.
Yeah, you probably don't like the Star Wars if you don't like The Mandalorian. But rather than do this like a review, this is sort of a standalone episode, like a podcast episode rather than an episode review. How about we just sort of, meander our way through the chapters and just whatever strikes us, let's talk about, and let's sort of riff a little bit and have a little bit of fun with this. I've got a bunch of images I'm going to throw up. Oh, hey, they're there.
Hey, we were just talking about that, weren't we?
And it just went away. Okay, so Chapter 1 was just called The Mandalorian. Going into this, we had no idea what to expect, right? I mean,
yep.
We had just seen, I think this was right after the Last Jedi, right?
The Rise of Skywalker.
The Rise of Skywalker is when Mandalorian
Oh, wait, no. This was right before the Rise of Skywalker.
Okay.
Right, because it started, and then that came out.
Yeah, so it was interesting because there was already a bit of a schism in expectation between some of the fans, and so not knowing what to expect, we were handed this really amazing episode that felt a little bit like a serial, like an old serial Western or something like that. And not really sure how to take it. We were introduced to a character who was a Mandalorian, but clearly they set up this rich history and a mystery about who he was, but how he became a Mandalorian. They were teasing in little tiny bits and pieces like droids from the old, the prequel era. There was characters, or at least scenes, that were very reminiscent of the Clone Wars, with Death Watch and stuff like that. So we were teased a lot, and I don't know, I thought it really did a wonderful job of creating a mystery around who the Mandalorian was, why he would never show his face, because that was a new thing. I don't know. What were your initial thoughts on this?
As soon as we finished the season, I did absolutely love the flashbacks, because we're getting, a shit ton of backstory from him with just little teeny tiny, seconds worth of shots. So it was a beautiful way to set that up. And of course, to build the mystery around him. Of course, we talked about it being a Western. Fucking, they did it well. Like, this is the way it was supposed to be. Of course, in season 2, we get much more of the samurai film, just sort of like what Lucas went for with the original films. But man, this was just a hell of an opener. Because, of course, we'd been burned. Like, really, the only things that we'd been given since Disney's acquisition was yeah, Rogue One and Solo, which, I mean, I know people are split on Solo. I don't
like
fucking get it.
Okay.
I love that movie. It's fun as shit. It's just fucking perfect. Fuck off if you don't like it. But Rogue One, like, other than those, we've
Yeah.
just been constantly burned.
Yeah.
Because before this, Resistance came out, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We didn't
So,
finish that one either.
oh God. I mean, I finished the show,
Yeah. We just didn't
but
finish reviews.
it was pointless. No, yeah, we did. I could have swore we'd finished
I
it.
think there's a couple that we didn't.
Oh,
looking
I
back.
don't know. I try to black out that. It's almost like,
Those are the
you
dark
know,
times.
yeah, it's like, being kidnapped and raped. You just kind of
Oh,
black it out.
jeez.
Hey, I'll be the first to fucking say it. They raped me. That is time of my life I will never get back.
Wow.
Yeah, there were some good parts, but it was trash.
Yeah.
But this is the Mandalorian,
Yeah.
and we love this.
Yeah. Well, there's that opening line that sold me immediately, where he says,
Mhm.
"I can bring you in hot, or I can bring you in cold," and it just did that shot of him putting his hand next to his blaster on his hip, and I was just like, "Oh yeah, oh yeah, this is the greatest
yeah.
thing I've ever seen on TV." It was so
It's
beautiful.
so true. So fucking true.
And then the ending of this episode blew my mind. I had no
Mhm.
idea they were going to just jump right into some deep Star Wars lore with showing us the child.
Mm.
Like that. I don't know. What was your initial reaction? Do you remember?
Yeah, I do remember. I went over to a friend's house to watch. Like, I got off work, went over there, and we're just sitting like this while his wife's staring at us like we're crazy children. And as soon as that shit happened, just eyes this fucking big, we look at each other like, what the fuck? Because you think about it, and if you go back to Legends,
Yeah.
when Yoda was that age, he was full grown.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just weird to think, because they kept stressing that the only thing they had was a fob and the age, and they kept repeating that it was 50 years old. So of course you imagine, or would imagine, if you're coming across a Yoda species, he's already full grown at this point. So the fact that it was a child just was like, what the fuck? That's how it works? This is crazy.
Yeah, there was a lot. It actually, that first episode also put a question in my head that has yet to be answered. And that is, who the hell stole the baby? Like, how did they get the baby? How did that group that they liberated the child from get the child? Who were they? Who were they working for? I think it's never even been addressed. It's like, that's a huge question because it ties into how he got out of. Do you think that's going to come in season 3? Whenever we get season
I don't
3?
know. I hope so.
Because they did in season 2 tie it back to the purge of the temple, the Jedi temple. But anyway, so the rest of the season moves at a pretty slow and steady pace of discovery, and at this point, I think it's much more about Din Djarin, who we ultimately learn his name is as the Mandalorian. We find out who he is, why he thinks the way he does, and that teases this idea that Mandalorians have to go underground. They're hunted by the Empire, or they're outlawed or something like that. And so we get this overarching theme of, if I'm a bounty hunter, why should I care about the target? But he clearly does care about the target because he decides to go back after he hands it over to the client. Yeah. And so, like, you're starting to unravel these onion layers of what motivates the Mandalorian Din, who he is as a person, what values he holds. And on the surface, when I'm saying it, it sounds really boring, but when you're actually watching the story play out, it's actually really interesting. And knowing that not every episode is going to pay off until the second season, in some cases, like The Prisoner we were talking about a little bit ago. But yeah, so I thought it was really interesting, like the child, the second episode, when the Jawas tore apart his ship and he had to hunt them down, and then he had to go fight the Mudhorn, and then we get to see the child actually has fucking the Force, knows how to use the Force in an amazing way. Did you ever feel like that was too much too soon?
No, absolutely not.
Wow.
No, because it's something that is brought up I want to say it's canon at this point, but I also don't know how they consider their new novels. Like Disney's really fucking stupid this way. So like now anything that comes out is canon, but is it? Anyways, like there's certain species that are inherently more force sensitive than others. You've got your Dianogas or Dianogas, however the fuck you pronounce it. Admittedly, Yoda's species probably would be, because every time we've come across one of their species, they're always like high up in the food chain when it comes to force sensitivity.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it just makes sense. Like, if he is force sensitive, why the fuck wouldn't he do that shit? His protector, his rescuer, is getting ready to get smushed by some giant thing. So, of course, he's going to save him.
Do you think that the child saw something in Din that Din didn't even know was there in the first place?
Oh,
Like
absolutely.
his heart?
Yeah. Yeah, it's... for not being able to see his face ever, like until the final episode, he's a very easily readable character as far as his emotions are concerned. Especially once you have the backstory of, well, his backstory of being a foundling and all that shit. Like that's got to play on him, and especially knowing Mandalorian culture and how how much they stress children and the protection of children. It's not that surprising that he would do what he did, for one, and that Yoda or Grogu would notice this and respect it and cling to it.
It's interesting because we came into season 1 with what appeared to be a fully fledged bounty hunter who was known and feared, and quite capable of taking on multiple enemies at once, as we've seen over and over again throughout the season. Yes. But it's also about him like gathering his official Mandalorian armor with the Beskar. So it was very, sort of video gamey, that first season, I think, much more than the second season, in my opinion.
Oh, absolutely.
Where, it's do this quest, get the reward, upgrade your gear, do another quest, that sort of thing. Chapter 3, The Sin, was amazing.
Fuck yeah.
That's when we first get to see Mandalorians flying, and just this wonderful standoff and this massive battle between Mandalorians and bounty hunters and criminals, the scum and villainy of the outer region here. That was one of the greatest episodes of that first season, just one of them.
Oh yeah.
Just from that action set alone. Do you think that they play too hard in the effectiveness of Mandalorians as a species, of a warrior culture? Because clearly people fear them throughout everywhere they go. Everyone's afraid of Mandalorians. But if they're hidden and the Empire crushed them, why is it that people still fear them? I
mean, I'd be fucking intimidated if I saw something like that walk up.
Yeah.
You don't have to know any backstory to see some dude in like head to toe armor with a big fucking gun. Like, I'm not going to fuck with that guy, even if I know nothing about him.
Good point.
No, I love that, because up until this point, we'd only really gotten like something like that in Return of the Jedi, when Boba Fett gets smacked wrong and dies. Well, doesn't die, but flies off into the Sarlacc pit. And then in Attack of the Clones, where Jango Fett flies into the stadium.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not exciting at all. So to actually see some live action Mandalorians using their jetpacks and not getting fucked up, like, holy shit, was that amazing.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we did see Obi-Wan and Jango go toes, which was a great scene, which frustrates me when people talk shit about episode 2, because they seem to forget that, because that was a great scene. Yeah. But yeah, you're right. I mean, we just didn't get a lot of live action taste. And as soon as we did with this, they just went all in. They went balls deep. It hurt a little bit, but I liked it.
Yeah, no, I was not complaining.
So Sanctuary, which was chapter 4, was a little bit different. It was very much one of those sort of like a Star Trek-y episode where you land on a planet, you help the locals, defeat an insurgency, and then, you move on. Of course, this was where he meets Cara Dune for the first time. And that is going to lead into her, and him becoming really close allies. But I don't know. It was a little wonky. I liked that they, sort of the bad guys repurposed Imperial gear, like the AT-AT, I'm sorry, ATST.
ATST.
In order to, use it to terrorize townspeople. I thought that was really cool. I loved the tension, the romantic tension between the villager woman and Din, and how he had this glimpse of a life that he could have, which was very tempting.
Oh, yeah.
And, even though she was super wet, he was like, gotta move on. She was detailed as hell.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, if that helmet would have came off, her legs would have been wrapped around his head.
Hey, Williams.
Which nobody would blame him. No one would blame him.
Nope, not at all. That's the only episode I thought that was a little, well, I could have done without that.
It was somewhat underwhelming, but it also, I mean, it's definitely one of those episodes where, in retrospective, it's excellent. It was really a character building episode. Of course, we got the introduction to Cara Dune, which is super fucking important because she is going to be an ongoing character that we all know and love. It was the first time that we got the samurai part of Star Wars in this series, which, honestly, it's kind of surprising it took that long. Again, we've talked about it, but like that's so heavily a part of the Star Wars lore, being based off the Kurosawa films and, old Westerns and all that shit. I liked it. Even the first time I watched it, I mean, it was not as action-packed as everything else, minus the last few minutes. But it was great getting that glimpse of, the Mandalorian almost dropping his guard and getting a little bit more of him. So I thought it was pretty good.
And we, I didn't think about this until now. We also got to see him and Cara go toes, which was awesome. And then we got that shot with Grogu sipping his bone broth, looking at him like, "Are you done yet?"
That's still one of my favorite lines of the season.
Yeah.
Like having gone through and rewatched a good chunk of this season, just they're sitting there faced off. They got blasters facing each other. Look at the kid. Look back. You want some soup?
It was so fucking good. Greatest. And so we immediately fall in love with the child. We immediately connect with Din, and we're starting to connect with this wilder galaxy than we're used to. There's no Imperial presence anywhere. People regionally are left up to their own devices in order to survive, and it's a different but familiar view of the galaxy that we love. The Star Wars galaxy. And then we get the gunslinger. This was really interesting. They added in another bounty hunter that they, end up teaming up. And we got the first tease of a potential, is it Boba Fett? Is it...
I fucking called it too. I fucking called it. I want to say that right now.
He called it.
I knew. I knew. I was like, yeah, that's got to be Boba Fett.
But we also got... what's her name? Damn it!
Fennec
Shan, right?
That sounds about right.
I think that's it. Anyway, we got a first exposure right there on the screen. First exposure to her, and she's awesome as a character. I love that character so much. I'm so glad that it wasn't the end of her with this episode, which we were led to believe. There was such a tease about who went up at that end to Fennec Shan. That it carried us through the entire season of, we're going to see Boba. We're going to see him in this season or something like that. Is he alive? And it brought back all those old comics and all the old legends, in lore that thrilled us growing up. Because, again, all we had growing up was Return of the Jedi, at least in my generation. And so, of course, when you want to think about moving forward, they went back to do the prequels, which was awesome. But I always like to look forward about, Luke starting his new Jedi Academy and his kids and, Leia and Han's kids. So getting this reconnection with this time period that I just fantasized about for so many years was so wonderful. And just that tease of the feet walking up to it was enough to just bury me further into obsession with this series.
Lost my shit.
So the prisoner then was just this really odd criminal scum and villainy team up, and it's the first time we get to see the New Republic in any form at all. And I thought that was really cool. I heard a lot of people did not enjoy this episode, which blew me away.
I don't get it.
The diversity of actors as different aliens and the actors who played the different scum and villainy was amazing.
Okay, so that's the only thing I'll bitch about is that Twi'lek was playing for the back row. Little bit much, but
yeah,
you know,
little kitty
upon
cat.
further views, it's like whatever. I get it. If she was a male character, she would have a mustache and be twisting it the whole time. As soon as you get past that, you accept it and you go on. Yeah, no, like seriously.
Yeah.
If she was a male character, could you not see her with a fucking top hat and a curly mustache?
Yeah, as long as she's got a cane. For sure.
Tying bitches to fucking railroad tracks.
Railroad tracks.
Uh,
yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. But again, we get to see Din not quite the criminal that he used to be. We get a tease that he used to be much more. It's always as effective as a warrior and a bounty hunter, but not as such a bad guy as he used to be. As this series is just unraveling, and the thing is like The Sopranos, when it came up, was really the first TV series to introduce the anti-hero as the person you're cheering for in a TV series. And from then, you know, we got the Dexters and stuff like that, which, you know, you were sort of cheering for the bad guys. This is almost that, but not quite. Like, we like that he rubs elbows with the bad guys, but he's still kind of good. And I kind of like that he straddles that fence from time to time. He's clearly breaking someone out of prison, so that's a bad guy thing to do.
Yeah.
But he's doing it for a good reason. So
well, it's a much more realistic hero.
Yeah.
Like, nobody is inherent, like, completely and ultimately good. Nobody is completely and ultimately bad. Like, people walk that line because that's just human nature. Yeah. So it's easier to connect with them that way, I think.
And we were really introduced early on, even in episode 1, but definitely in episode 2, or chapter 1 and chapter 2, where this is a flawed hero who can't just walk in and beat everyone. Sometimes he gets overrun, and if it wasn't for the child, he would have died at the hands of the Mudhorn. Like, that's just the reality of it. But his determination to drive forward and to continue fighting even against hopeless odds is what I think is part of what endears us to him, right?
Oh, absolutely.
He is that hero, even though he's a flawed hero, which I just love so much. And then we get the Reckoning, which is the first of the two-part of the ending of this season, where we really get a glimpse at Moff Gideon for the first time, like a hard look, and how not just threatening he is, and totally sure of himself, in a complete position of power and authority. I thought he was going to be part of the First Order. I was stunned that he wasn't.
Yeah. Well, and it makes sense too. Like, if you kind of, I mean, of course, this is all a time frame that hasn't really been explained, so it's kind of just, you know, us making up our own theories. But, you know, when the contingency happened and people blasted the fuck out, like, the First Order was built in the unknown regions. So, yeah, it's like, is he a part of this? Is he not? Hey, I know those guys. God, man, okay. Can we talk about that real quick? Just a sidebar. Galleries, holy fuck, was that good? Yeah, like, that is pure Star Wars. Like, it straight up took me back to being a child, you know, sitting in front of the TV Saturday afternoons when the movies were being re-released, and on Fox, like, that's all they had Saturday afternoons was Star Wars making of shit.
It's great.
Every single episode brought me back to that point in my childhood. It was just so amazing, and it made me love it so much more. And I just want to hug every single one of them and kiss them right on the head and be like, I love you.
Thank you.
You have made my life so much better with your brain.
I thought those were great. And you get a real deep dive on behind the scenes themes that, like, when Filoni started talking about that, the real balance of the Duel of the Fates, what it was really about, you know, about the future of Anakin, I never considered that before. And it was brilliant hearing what George Lucas was actually thinking when he was putting it together, and to hear it articulated by Filoni was just wonderful.
Oh yeah,
man.
Yeah, no, the fact that him and Favreau are essentially the heir to the Empire, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Everybody else just step the fuck aside, let them do their shit.
Yeah.
Like they even explained it. Like they're basically kids sitting around with their action figures doing what they did when they were children.
Yeah.
Yeah,
especially that one with Rodriguez when he used his kids and action figures in the gallery.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
Yeah, I haven't finished the second part of the gallery yet. I like season 2, but yeah. No. Every aspect of it that is a big deal I've seen, but just like in segments.
Yeah.
Like still him sitting there playing guitar to the child.
Yeah.
It's like, of course he's gonna do that. Why wouldn't he?
It's so good.
God, I love that. And then to hear Werner Herzog talk about like directing the child.
Yeah.
Like it's an actual character. It's like, fuck, this is why we love Star Wars. It's so easy to believe that it's real.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, when the believing that it's real, certainly even on the actor's side of things and the director's side of things, when they're interacting with a puppet as if it were a real human or a real actor, that's not just, it's not just a statement about them being immersed in the universe that they're, acting in, but it's also huge props to the puppet masters. Like, they're, and to the, what is that called? The zone or the name of the area that they're filming in. It's called
oh, I don't remember what it's called.
Oh gosh, why can't I remember it? Anyway, the immersion that it caused because they were in that little space, but it looked like they were actually in the world. It's a whole different immersive acting experience for them, which clearly paid off, in my opinion.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Well, because you look at
wonderful.
movies like, any of the Marvel movies or, the prequel trilogy, you can tell something's not right with the acting because they don't even know what's going on. They're just standing in a giant green room with a bunch of green shit.
Yeah.
Like, and it doesn't feel real with this. I mean, yeah, like until galleries came out.
Volume. That's what it's called. The volume. Oh my gosh.
There we go. Yeah, until galleries came out, like you didn't know what the hell. You just assumed, okay, this might be a set. This might be green screen. And then you actually get that first glimpse of just the giant set. And it's like, oh, holy fuck, that's beautiful.
Yeah, totally immersive.
Yeah.
This 2-part season finale for season 1 was really, really powerful. You felt the desperation of the heroes being locked down and trapped. You felt the choices that they had to make was like, we've got to get out. We've either got to fight to the death or we need to escape. And then at the end of season, or at the end of chapter 7, with the death of our wonderful friend,
Quill.
I genuinely thought that, oh shit, they're going to lose the child. Like I really thought they were going to lose the child, and season 2 was going to be regaining the child. And so there was this sad desperation. And then we got that final episode with redemption, and seeing IG-88 come back in.
IG-11.
Oh, fuck. Thanks.
Close enough. He's an IG unit. They all look the same.
When he comes in with the child, just blasters firing. I was so thrilled, just at the edge of my seat, laughing hysterically because it was so exciting. And then watching them all step out and fight for their freedom. And then all of a sudden it looks like Din is going to die, which I don't really ever think he was, but it was a nice moment to be in. And we get to see his face for the very first time, which was really nice.
Well, it showed real stakes. Like there is a possibility that our hero could die.
Yeah. And we were teased that throughout the entire series whenever he got defeated. And this really was one of those moments where we're like, ooh, I don't know what's going to happen. Maybe this is just a one-off. We don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
At this point, we did hear rumor that the second season was greenlit, but I had no idea what it was going to be about. So it was just really exciting not knowing and then just watching it unravel. And so all of these theories that are in your head that we had from back in the day about the original trilogy and the prequel trilogy, the speculations, because we had such gaps between films, that's what Star Wars is so great about. It's the speculation. We got that with this. from week to week. Like, it was
Yeah.
so wonderful. The ending was bittersweet
Hmm.
and such a tease, knowing that we had a year to wait before
Oh
the
my
next,
God.
with the reveal of
Right.
that Darksaber. That was some heavy lore to drop
Yeah.
on an audience.
Yeah. That was just like, oh my God.
Do you think, and clearly it ended up working because they're doing more seasons and they're branching out to
Hmm.
different series. Clearly it worked.
Hmm.
But what kind of a gamble do you think they were talking about behind the scenes going, it's not going to work. No one knows what a fucking Darksaber is. No one, we don't even know if people are going to subscribe to the streaming service. Why are you going to throw deep Star Wars lore? We need to be lighter. We need to be more Luke Skywalker and Princess
Hmm.
Leia. I mean, how much do you think of that was going on behind the scenes?
Oh, a shit ton. That's why it was such a small budget. Like, if you look at this compared to like other shit that Disney's spending money on,
Mm-hmm.
this first season was minuscule. This was like the shit they pull out of their pocket. Like, oh yeah, you kids want to play at the arcade? Okay, here, have some money. Just be home in time for dinner. Whereas everything else that admittedly fucking is not that good
Mm-hmm.
is getting billions and billions of dollars and just kind of flopping. So I think that was sort of definitely not a hindrance because that's kind of the aesthetic of Star Wars anyways
Mm-hmm.
is, dirty, grimy and just kind of cheap, make it the way you can. Um, but I think it helped in a way because Disney just kind of was like, I mean, we're going to watch you guys, but do what you want.
Yeah.
Um, and I don't think we would have necessarily got what we did if they had a stranglehold on them like they do with most of their other properties.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. It was a gamble for them, I'm sure,
Mm.
which
Oh, of
paid
course.
off in spades.
Hmm.
Um, and it brought back what was so wonderful about Star Wars, and that is puppets, actual practical effects, and the low budget helped it. So it
Hmm.
felt more like Star Wars. I thought they did such a brilliant job with this. And then, if it was just the set pieces and just them running around fighting, that's good enough. But
Hmm.
then they add in lore and they add in story. And so now we're connected with these characters that we really didn't need to be connected in to watch it,
Yeah.
but we are now. And, it becomes a whole phenomenon with the child.
Hmm.
So much so that my parents have a fucking child. They have one of the little like expensive robotic things.
Hmm.
Um, and she called me up after every episode, like, "Hey, oh my gosh, did you watch it yet?" And she just wanted me to talk to her about that. Doesn't happen
Yeah.
about any other series ever in my entire life. And so it was really strange to see it break every boundary, every generation, deep dive Star Wars fans, and even people who hated Star Wars but just like sort of space westerns like Firefly. This
Hmm.
attracted them because it
Oh
was
yeah.
very similar. So I don't know. It seems like it was a gamble to pull off, then they pulled it off, and then it's a gamble to maintain it. And
Hmm.
so, next time we do this, we're going to do a season 2 retrospective, and we'll dive into all that, but and how they just continue to just blow everyone away and build the hype.
Hmm.
Um, this season, was there any? Because clearly it didn't answer every question, or else there wouldn't be other seasons. It would just be a
Oh, of
complete
course.
story unto itself. Did you feel let down at all in any aspect to the season, as far as story or characters or anything like that?
No, I mean, really, about the only complaint I had was some of the deaths.
Mm-hmm.
Like, obviously, Quill and IG-11, like that sucked. It made sense because why would they continue with those characters? But yeah, that was really, if I had to complain about anything, it would be them. And again, Snidely Whiplash, Twi'lek lady. Other than that, no, it was perfect because in the end you realize none of the questions you had at the beginning were really answered,
Mm-hmm.
so it makes you want even more. The the character story, like we knew shit about Din initially, and then at the end, like Din Djarin is full, I guess not fully explained, but a lot of shit's known about him now, like a lot of
Yeah.
his history, why he is the way he is, and it just makes you want to know even more about him. So it's like they were really, really successful with building that want and need for the second season.
Yeah, and it's really hard too because we always have to consider that whenever we're talking about Star Wars, it's always reflecting from the films, and
Hmm.
there's a clear good guy and a bad guy, the Rebel
Hmm.
Alliance and the Empire, throughout the entire series as it is, uh,
Hmm.
and so you always know where you stand as the audience, and
Yeah.
this it didn't do that. It had the Imperial remnants and it had the New Republic, but they were
Hmm.
sort of on. And of course, the Imperial remnant came in hard at the very end, but they were at the fringes in your peripheral view the whole time. This was
Hmm.
really deep dive into the criminal underworld, the seedy underbelly, and just random characters in space. And
Yeah.
I think that's a very difficult place to tell a story from, and yet they pulled it off, and it was just so brilliant. I was so excited by the fact that they got such talent attracted to this, and they did such a brilliant job with it. So many wonderful
Hmm.
directors, you know, they
Yeah.
they really were inclusive without it being like a weird political thing. They just
Hmm.
said, no, we want the best people, and it just happens to be random
Yeah.
directors, random genders, random ethnicities. We're not doing it to
Hmm.
make a statement. We're just doing it because they're the best for the job.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like, I don't understand why Hollywood can't appreciate that.
Yeah.
Like, you'll find the director that's right for the job. It's okay if it's a white male, but there's always possibility that it's not a white male.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Star Wars has always been really great with that, and it's nice to see that it's carrying forward with that, at least with the Mandalorian.
Hmm.
I really love that. Um, so some of the themes that I pulled out of this was that you don't have to be a shitty person in order to be an independent person. Like, we talked about it. Din is not really a good guy, even though he kind of is a good guy.
Yeah.
And I like that. You had mentioned not everyone is really good, not everyone is really evil. He's just a
Hmm.
character dealing with circumstances as they're dealt at him.
Yeah.
And that is real.
He's just straight up a fucking hustler.
Yeah.
That's it.
I love that. That's what I loved about Han Solo and Lando Calrissian, and that's certainly what I love about Din Djarin.
Yeah.
Um, some of the other themes, that we started to see, and as Star Wars nerds, we get this sense of, as we've been exposed to the Jedi, they're supposed to be protectors, they're supposed to be peaceful, they're not supposed to dwell with hatred and fear, and yet all we're seeing with this young child is its exposure to hate and fear and murder and death and violence. And so in my head, I'm just thinking, what kind of an imprint is this making on this force sensitive child, and how
Hmm.
is it going to influence his life moving forward if he survives at all? And
Yeah.
there's always at the back of at the back of the story this connection to the sequel trilogy, because clearly they jump into the cloning thing, the midi-chlorians thing. They don't lean into it in season 1 like they did in season 2, but it's there and it's
Hmm.
obvious. And so there's this fear as I'm watching it that is going to overtly connect to the sequels, which I really didn't enjoy. And so that was kind of making me hesitant the whole way. I was just waiting for the other shoe to drop. The
Yeah.
fact that it never did drop is wonderful, but it was so close that I was like, oh fuck, I don't I don't know what to
Yeah.
I don't know. That was my only hesitation with this series, really, is that it was too close to the sequel trilogy, even though in time it was far removed.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. This is much closer to the original trilogy than the sequels. That's for damn sure.
Yeah. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about with this season 1? In hindsight and in retrospective?
Not really that I can think of. I mean, we've pretty much, like, with the reviews, with the little we've talked about in this episode, like, we've pretty much covered everything.
Yeah.
It's just, this was what we needed with Star Wars.
Yeah.
I mean, we stopped doing this fucking show because of how just burnt out on their garbage they were feeding us. This saved us. Like,
Yeah.
this is what brought back the fucking show.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things that I was worried when I was first watching the series that it's like, it's something new. It's something closer to the original feel of the series. I'm just enjoying it because of nostalgia. But having, separated watching the first season when it came out to watching the first season as the second season's coming out, it holds up. It's not nostalgia. It's not fan service. It's just proper fucking filmmaking.
Yeah.
Like they know how to tell a story. They know how to, bring out characters, and they know how to make us love them. And it's just, this is what television should be. And this is what Star Wars needs to be.
I think that's a brilliant place to end it on, but I don't want to end it on that yet, because I love what you just said about it. While I was watching it the first time, experiencing it all through the 8 chapters, I was in the back of my head thinking, oh, is this just fan service?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't care because I love it. But
Mm-hmm.
now in hindsight, I agree. I don't think it was fan service at all. I think it was just them going back to a place where we love and playing with it. And they weren't doing it to make us feel good. They're doing it because they had a story they wanted to tell.
Mm-hmm.
And it just happened to coincide with, our reminiscence of a younger age of ourselves and, the innocence of experiencing Star Wars for the first time. I mean, it was a gamble that paid off, and it worked. And I don't think it was fan servicey at all. And
No, not at all.
And it frustrates me when, we'll get into this when we talk about season 2, but the finale of season 2, a lot of people are like, oh, that's totally fan service. Why are you doing that? Look, why can't someone just tell a story and just, for the sake of the story, play with whatever characters they want to play with?
Mm-hmm.
If there's a problem, you're the one that has the problem,
Yeah. And that's of course one of the biggest problems with Star Wars fans is they're fucking cunts.
Yes, we are.
Like the one thing that Star Wars fans hate
Yes,
more than anything else is Star Wars.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's so here's the thing. Fan service would mean an episode or two they delve into something that really doesn't matter, but it's just kind of there to make us happy or appease us. We got 16 fucking episodes of fan service. So it's like, that's not fan service. That's storytelling. That's Star Wars. That's what we love about Star Wars.
Yep.
Fuck. Yeah, I hate it when people call it that shit. It's like, no. And Boba Fett at the end of season 2, that's not fan service. That's fucking Favreau being like, I told you I was going to bring him back so I could make a show about him. Fuck you guys for not believing in me.
Yeah. It's so good.
Like, that's what this is. This is 16 episodes of Favreau being like, oh, yay, I got to make a Boba Fett show.
Yeah.
Like, this is all built up to that.
That's true. All right. Well, that's all I had. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about on this?
No, we definitely got it covered.
All right. Well, thank you all so much for tuning in live or after the fact. We invite you to subscribe to the channel and click the bell to get notified whenever we do another one of these episodes. Of course, we have gear here. Check it out if you want to be a scruffy-looking nerf herder. Share your pride. And the link is in the description below to go to the storefront for that. And until the Infernal Brotherhood convenes again, may the Force be with you.
This is the way.
What's up, Princess Mimi? Princess Mimi.